All right, hey guys, PC, and today on Gamer's Passion, bringing back two favorite guests. Each of us got a lot of positive feedback about the video, so I'm glad that you guys are enjoying them. We're having a fun time making them, and today we're going to do kind of a controversial subject. Basically, it's the Neo Geo X, and me, I don't have one personally. I plan on picking up one. I'm going to pick up the handheld version, and we have Sal, which is basically once again the guru of Neo Geo on YouTube, and we have Jared, who's a longtime AES owner, and he actually owns the Neo Geo X also. So basically, we'll start things off with Jared. He just put up a recent video. You guys can go check it out on his channel, and of the Neo Geo X, and just how are you feeling about it right now after the firmware and the new release of games?
Well, it's like this. What I really like and enjoy about the Neo Geo X is the product, is the way that it's packaged, and just the way that it's marketed. It seems like it's a product that's marketed directly to the fans, the Neo Geo fans. And so one of the things that one of the new things is now you have a firmware update, which you use a cable in order to update the firmware inside the Neo Geo X. And so it creates some changes which are very significant. Number one, that allows you to play the more games. So the case actually includes I don't know, what is it, about like 20 games? I don't have my box right now, but so you have new games, and there's some really good titles on there. Some games that, if you were to buy them on the AES, would be worth, Sal knows. I mean, some of these games are in the $1,000 range. So it's a treat to have some of these games. But my thing is, start with the positives. Now you don't have to buy the docking station because you don't need that to charge the system. At first you needed the docking stations to charge the system. Now you have a quick charge. So that allows you to take the Neo Geo handheld on the go with a little small adapter. You don't have to worry about carrying around like the docking station. So that's great. And there's also, now this is the trick now. There's I guess there are a lot of YouTubers who have been having issues with video quality, and that's it seems to vary. A lot of people are complaining about tearing issues with some of the video, and my thing is you have to really look for that. I think you have to really look for it. And I know there's some technical gurus who know more about video than I do, but I was enjoying it just on the regular TV. I made a video about King of Fighters 95, and I was enjoying that game. But they did something with the video quality now, and I think it actually is worse than before, and that's the bad news I have for you guys. It's actually a little bit worse, and the issues that other people were having, I didn't have, and now it's like I plug it into composite video on a TV, and it just doesn't have. I think it looks worse to me, so that's what I have to say about it.
Is there more color bleeding? Is that what you're saying? Is it more blurry?
You know what it is for me on my setup? On my setup, playing on my old school CRT, it's the image shimmers. It's got this, so it does create like a blurry image, and it wasn't like that before. So it seems like whatever they tried to address for other people, it made it. For other owners, it made it worse for people who didn't have those problems. So it's just kind of like a mixed bag, So, I mean, it's still very playable. I mean, it doesn't look like horrible. It's not like you can't play the games on the TV.
Yeah.
And you can still play it HDMI, but I prefer to play it on the CRT, So, yeah, I mean, it's playable. It's playable, but if you're looking for that exact same image and quality, just like I said, you got to go with the original hardware. And that's just the way that it is, So.
Okay. Well, Sal, what do you think about the whole Neo Geo X and the YouTube kind of feedback that's been going on as of late?
Okay. The thing is that even though I don't own the X, I've been actually looking at for quite some time, because anytime usually a new system, regardless whether it's a console or handheld, comes out, I usually give it some time to see what's going on with it, like anything. And it seems to be a real mixed bag. Like Jared actually has nothing but positive views on it, especially when he got it back in December. He really enjoyed it, and up until like he was playing like King of Fighters 95 on it and really enjoying it. So it really intrigued me what's going on. My whole thing is that it depends on what the people are looking for. And the one thing that I have to admit, Jared eloquently stated on his video was, look, you can't judge this based on the real AES. What the real thing you're actually supposed to be judging on is on the handheld. And the handheld is the core of the system, and it's Neo Geo on the go. And it's an actual licensed product from SNK rather than, like, of course you can probably play a much better version of the game, via a PSP. But the thing is that it's Capcom's from, whatever. And the thing is here you actually have a licensing of Neo Geo on the go. And I agree with him, that's the way it should be judging. A lot of the YouTubers out there that are criticizing it, even though I don't own one now, but I'm just saying, this is the criticism, it's not like the AES. And the thing is that I think it's kind of harsh to judge the system based on that. I mean, you're basing it on a system, a 20-something-year-old system. You're basing it on an old architectural hardware. And if they put that hardware or the exact same specifications or, how would they say, like exact chips that were present in the AES, it'd probably be a lot more in money. Because the thing is here it's running off an emulation, and the thing is emulation is much cheaper. Whereas if you're going to run it off the same exact hardware that's present on the actual AES, I'm going to tell you something. It's going to bump up the price quite a bit because, I mean, some of it might be a bit cheaper now, but to actually get the parts and the things in order to do that were back then, and those parts were expensive 20 plus years ago, you're not going to have the same experience. So the emulation, certain things are not going to be 100% that you would if you had the AES, but you should judge it for what it really is the handheld that's a licensed product by, licensed via, Tomo, and that's really where it's supposed to be. So you can't expect everything, because even the ports that came to the various systems, they're not 100%, and they're running on PS2 hardware, PlayStation 1, Dreamcast hardware, and you're not getting 100% port. The only ones you might be able to get 100% port on is maybe the PlayStation networks for PS3 and things of that nature. But those ports and things that you received, let's say, over a decade ago, it's going to be maybe a little bit better than them, but that's about it, especially through emulation. So my thing is, people are judging it too harshly. It should be more of it's a fanfare, a more thing to the how would they say, SNK fanatic, or just like a throwback. And like any throwback team, it's not going to be as good as the original, and that's something people have to understand. And they might feel, I guess, maybe a little butthurt that, maybe you're getting a similar experience that where people bought, AES games that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and they might feel that, hey, I spent all this money and I'm getting just about as, almost the same quality. Whereas people shouldn't look at things like that. They should just see it for what it is. It's a throwback console. It's a fanfare thing, and it's just meant to give a similar experience to people who could otherwise never afford it, especially, people, that are preteens, teens, and even adults in, the 90s. Sorry for rambling, but that's how I feel.
Good, man.
Great, yeah. I was going to say, too, you guys, think about how hard it was to get your AES collection. Think about how hard it was to get the Neo Geo. And you just can't expect, your average gamer out there to just go out and get it, and get all the games, and be all legit, and all that. It's like, I don't think that's really fair, especially because SNK didn't make their products really accessible to the public. And now it's just like they finally have a product that makes it accessible to the to the general public, and they can have the box, the packaging, the controller, or enjoy it on the go, and it's got a slick little design, and it's got SNK on the side, and just enjoy it that's the way I enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean me personally, as someone who will be getting the handheld, a big thing for me was having to do with Tomo and SNK actually supporting it after the launch. And I know a lot of people were kind of complaining about it, how out of the box it came, messed up, or even yourself, Jerry, you had to, send it back. And even because of that, you didn't really bash the system itself, because I mean, that system cost $200. Where I don't know, people are kind of forgetful, but Xbox 360 when that came out, I mean, maybe like 3 months in, people were starting to get the red ring of death, and people paid back then $400 for a premium system. To me, that's not that's just unacceptable. So,
oh yeah, quality wise,
yeah,
that's
quality
a big
wise,
deal.
I mean, and that's a premium item, the Xbox 360 back when it first came out, and even now, people were getting the Xbox Elites that were supposed to be better, still getting the red ring. So, people need to give this X slack. I mean, me personally, I have to give props to SNK and Tomo for supporting it, and the way they're doing it now with the whole bundling games together on you can buy, just like how you picked up, Jared, the kind of like the mega collection of all of their releases just on one SD card, or and me personally, I mean, they're not putting out, they're not giving you crap games immediately. Like they're giving you big hitters like Mark of the Wolves, Samurai Showdown 3, Kazuna Encounter, stuff like, I mean, all that stuff is really good games. So me personally, I have to give props to Tomo and the SNK for supporting it after a lot of the negative feedback that they got from the initial launch. They're not just leaving you out there to dry.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. And it's still cheap. It's still affordable, and that's my thing. It's still affordable. You can buy it. It's not out of reach. And if you're an SNK fan, you're you can get it, and that's where I stand on it.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'll chime in a little bit. My only issues really with the X, as far as I've seen, are that are more, I guess, the firmware that just came out. No, the only thing I have to agree to some extent with the public's issue is the that you have to buy the games in order to update the system.
Yeah.
Now, the firmware, I believe, should have been at cost of free to people. Let's say downloaded via a website or something like that. That I can kind of see people have maybe a legitimate bitching about. The only other thing I can kind of see is that the people that are having trouble with the X, from what I understand, I'm not 100% sure, but from what I understand, if you have a problem with these issues, let's say because the firmware won't update certain versions of the game and all, that either the Neo Geo X website or Facebook or however you're supposed to communicate with Tomo aren't exactly responsive. Now, I don't know if that's because of the influx of emails or whatever they have, but those are the only kind of legitimate bitchings that I can see, that there should be a call line, a hotline, something where you should be able to communicate, be able to send your thing back. Of course, free, or maybe you might have to pay shipping, but that can be whatever. But those are the only issues that I kind of really see with the system that people I can see have a legitimate bitching about. But the one thing Jared said is that the games that you're getting with it, especially like Last Blade, Garou, and they picked a couple, I mean, other than maybe Sengoku is alright. I'm pretty sure it's an okay game. I mean, the majority of the games are excellent that people never even heard about, let alone see, especially people have never even heard of Kazuna Encounter. Kazuna Encounter is one of those games that's very obscure that only most of the hardcore fighting game fans have actually ever seen or played. And it's giving the opportunity to people to actually play it that normally really wouldn't get a chance to play it. But that's kind of my kind of thoughts on some of the newer, I guess, complaints or bitching that's going on and all. But, as far as that, I can't see anything others. And from what I understand, the HDMI on the system has improved significantly, especially the sound. The sound has really gone up on the system. They've improved that, like touched up from the quiet, muted, or maybe tingy type sound to it to a higher quality sound. And the HDMI is supposedly, how would I say, more superior than the composite, because they figure a lot of people are playing it via HDMI than composite. So the only thing, from what I understand, is the screen tearing is the only thing that's still in existence. But like I said, from what I've seen, it isn't so horrible that it's unplayable. It's just an issue that they're probably going to have to work on.
Yeah. Now, Jared, since you had the X, since basically kind of like day one, I remember hearing something about the speakers being reversed. The sound effects were reversed. Did they fix that with the firmware or no?
You know what? I never knew of that problem until I've seen a couple of videos, and I never even noticed that. I guess I'm just a dummy, But I guess there's something with, I guess they reversed the stereo polarity, where his left is right and right is left. I've never even noticed that. That was never an issue with me. I guess I'm just not that perceptive. Yeah, there is some things with the sound that they did address, like Sal said. It's a lot louder. I noticed that. As far as screen tearing and stuff like that, I remember I was like a couple nights ago. I was kind of like a mad scientist. I hooked up every system I had. I do that every now and then, and I hooked up my Neo X. I hooked up my Neo Geo. I hooked up my MAME player, basically, and some ports I had, and I started going through. I started comparing each image, and it was just like, what am I doing? It's like, it just seemed to me that it's just, why don't I just sit back and just enjoy the game? Okay, this version might look a little better, or this version might have a little tick there, or whatever. It's just like, it just seemed to me a waste of time. So that's one thing is what I wanted to say about that. I mean, there's always going to be gripes about it, and that's just the way that it is. And let me give you an example of some of the comparisons. Like, say if you're playing a game like, I don't know, let's get Art of Fighting or Samurai Showdown. And you guys know, okay, in Art of Fighting, there's an opening narration in Japanese, right? And that opening, and I was like comparing some of the different ones. And you know what? On the PlayStation 2, there's no narration, opening narration. Have you guys ever noticed that?
No, I'm gonna have to go back and look at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go turn on my fucking TV
now. Yeah. I'm
Samurai Showdown. If you play Samurai Showdown on the Neo Geo collection, there's no opening narration, and it's like, wow, there's always little things that you could pick and peck, especially if you're like anal retentive SNK fan, that you're gonna find in every version or port. So that's the way you kind of have to look at that in conjunction with the Neo Geo X, and it's going to have its little faults here and there. That's the reality of it. So,
my whole thing is that don't want to jump in without whatever. I'm just going to try and say, in one aspect, like the ports and stuff, the way I look at it is I'm just going to put this out there. A lot of times, companies will downgrade a port too. Because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say, you know what, there are still people who own these things, they cost a lot of money, and they might actually sometimes, because, like, especially on PS2 and Dreamcast, I'm pretty sure they're pretty confident to support the full entire game. And I don't think anybody would disagree. But a lot of times they might kind of shortchange the port in a sense, because it's kind of to do like an homage or note to the people who actually own the original titles. So, I mean, that's always in theory back in my mind, that they're not going to always make it 100%, because, a lot of times they do think about the people who actually stood by them for the 14 years that SNK was producing games under the Neo Geo system. And sometimes you might do take a step back because can't see that any of the newer systems that not being able to handle them at the point. And you know what? Like you said, it's still a port. And the thing is, like Jerry said, like I've noticed certain not even there. And there is differences like between an MVS and AES. Sometimes you get a more, sometimes you get a less, whatever it may be. But you know what? There could be a sense of it could have been done on purpose. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if it's necessarily true, but it could be one reason why things aren't 100% perfect. I don't know if you agree, but it's just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about that. One of the things, even when I had an AES back in like the early '90s, I was still playing ports because it was just too damn expensive to buy cartridges. Even if I could afford them, I couldn't afford them all the time. So I had to go to like the Sega Saturn to play a lot of my SNK games. Right. And even with that, it had a RAM cartridge. It had the 4 meg RAM card. Jose showed it when he had when he was playing his Sega Saturn. He was playing, I think it was
Vampire Savior.
Vampire Savior, yeah. So that increased the speed of the loading times, but really they were still pretty slow. And the audio quality, as far as sound effects, still weren't as sharp as the original Neo Geo. And just maybe like Sal said, maybe they did that on purpose because I knew that the Saturn had the capability of the Neo Geo. It was a next generation system, but I noticed little quirks like that, So I think that goes across the range when it comes to ports and emulation and stuff. There's always going to be something that's just not quite right.
Now, Jared, on that whole note about playing the SNK games on the Sega Saturn, at that time in Japan, wasn't the Sega CD still, receiving games? Like they were still receiving Samurai Shodown 4 and stuff like that. Like to me, it wouldn't make sense for SNK to release a superior port or even a port that can match the Neo Geo CD version on a competitor's hardware.
Oh wow, Sal, why don't you address that? Because you had a Neo Geo CD. Is there anything you want to say about it?
Okay, the Neo Geo. Okay, yes, I did. I actually owned the Neo Geo CD when it actually came out for the States. So I only got rid of it actually like last summer. The ports, for the most part, how can I be? I'm going to be totally honest. I mean, there are Neo Geo CD owners, and I'm trying to be, cognizant of that.
Well, Sal,
be respectful. But go ahead.
Yeah, Sal. I mean, take out the whole loading time things, because to me, loading times does make it does make a big difference. But I'm just talking about as far as gameplay wise.
I know, and I agree with you. But I'm going to tell you something. There were missing sounds. There were missing frames of animation. And most notably, a lot of the games that I noticed were the Samurai Shodown games. Especially Samurai Shodown 2, I noticed a lot because Samurai Shodown 2 was the packaging game for the United States system, the American version. And I noticed, because I had it for the AES, there were sounds missing, there was animations for the characters missing. King of Fighters 95 had animations missing, So those ports were not, I would say the ports were probably about, other than remixing the soundtracks, I don't count that because they had to bring the audio up to CD level, so I don't really count that. But I would say the ports were basically maybe about 80 to 85% close to the AES. Now, if you take a game like Art of Fighting 3, I had that for the CD. That, they had to shrink down the characters to actually be able to fit it on the CD. Those characters, if you ever play, or just look on YouTube and see the CD version of, what do you call it, Art of Fighting 3, and compare it to the AES, you'll see the characters are actually noticeably smaller in order to fit them. So there was actual animation loss or a downgrade. Because you were buying a game, I don't know if it's due to system limitations, I can't say for sure, or purposely because you were buying the games, the max I think I've ever paid for a game brand new was probably about $60. So there was a downgrade, absolutely, but it was a way of like a 1/3 of the price of the AES games. And this is not counting the load times. We should have bought a CDZ, which is a lot faster, but there was noticeable frames of animation, sound missing, yes, voices and things of that nature. I'm not even saying music. I'm saying voices and character animation, yes.
Yeah, I mean, just me coming, I'm kind of thinking as a SNK businessman, basically. Why would I try to do 100% uh, emulation to a CD where I'm over here still in the marketplace selling my AES cards, that's going for over $200. So I would kind of make kind of a watered down version of a CD game or even a Sega Saturn port. I don't want to give you the exact same experience that I'm trying to sell over here on my premium console.
Correct.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, Jose. It's like, yeah, I could see that, but I think that cartridge machine. I don't know. I mean, here was almost. It was so niche. It was pathetic. But in Japan, I don't know how much profit they were making on the cartridge system. Because they had to kind of branch out. That's why they made the Neo Geo CD.
Yeah.
Is because they had to branch out and get some of that market. I remember they when the Neo Geo CD came out. I think in Japan, when it first gets sold out, I think they sold all 25,000 units right when it came out, and so there was a big
so there was
a
front loader, I believe. Yeah, the front loader. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that meant that they were people who were really hungry for those games who just couldn't afford the Neo Geo AES system. So yeah, I don't know how much profit they were making, but to warrant keeping their AES cartridge base viable,
Yeah.
But definitely, I could see what you're saying on that.
I mean, because just a quick example. Sal, he had made a video about Waku Waku 7 for the MVS and AES, and in that video, I actually picked it up for the Sega Saturn. Now, in order for that game to run, the Sega Saturn has to use the 1 meg card. And at the time, I believe the 4 meg card was out also. So why didn't Sunsoft make it use the 4 meg card like the X-Men vs Street Fighter games, which is those games are basically arcade perfect. For I think they kind of just this is a port. We don't want to make it as good as our premium item, which was Waku Waku 7 on the AES or MVS. I just think they kind of will gimp ports a little bit.
To be honest with you, I agree, and that's something that I believe that they actually did, and I think, like you said, that was part of dollars and cents of their thinking. Like you said, the thing is, we're not going to make it expensive, and what Jared was saying is that okay, the Neo Geo AES did much better in Japan than it did over here in the States because their economy is totally different than ours. But the thing is that I agree. The thing is that they're not going to make. They're going to have a little sound issue. They're going to have a little bit of maybe a play issue with a character animation because it comes down to dollars and cents of why would somebody who's spending $350 at the time, because I believe that runs on the gigapower, so they'd be up in price, compared to, let's say, I'll be generous and say $80 for, let's say, the game and maybe having the cart too.
Yeah.
So it comes down to dollars and cents and just not really wanting pissing people off because you could get a lot of hate for that, and especially when you're supporting a system in the underground, so they respect the underground because it was a part of their profits that they were able to gain because the arcade was, let's say, maybe 90% or maybe a little less, and the home version was kind of supplementing their income. So it was like, hey, let's not screw them over or kind of diss them because they are actually buying the real ports and stuff. So there's always a method to the madness or a source behind the ports,
Yeah. Now going back to the X, when people were talking about the visuals on the X, I remember seeing in preview videos before it came out, some Tomo representatives were talking about it, how it's going to run in old school composite and HDMI. Now they never said anything about. I mean, from the videos I've seen, they never said that it was going to be upscaled. those games are going to be upscaled. They just said that the HDMI uh, outlet was there as an option because not a lot of people have CRTs anymore. Now, I think people might get the wrong idea, and I think they still have maybe the wrong idea about it, because like me myself, they play these ports like on PS2 and Xbox and stuff like that, PlayStation Network, where it's no comparison. Like me, my PS2 is connected through component, so if I was to play like the Metal Slug Collection or SNK Arcade Collections Volume One, I mean, there's no comparison. Those games are running in what 480p, 16:9
Yeah,
mode.
it's about what? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the X, where it's just running in standard definition. And you can, I mean, you do have the option to stretch the image, but I mean, it's no comparison. You have to take it for what it is, I think. And if you go into it knowing that, I think you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, that's true. And see what they did. They didn't want to. I guess because there's a compromise when it comes to how they wanted to display the image. And I think that's where they're running into problems because it's not like you plug it into HDMI and now you have
Upscale
that type
video.
of resolution. Yeah, that's just not the case. It's still trying to keep it in a native, the native resolution, but you can still display it through HDMI. So that is exactly right. It's not upscaled and it doesn't improve the image. It doesn't take the old 16-bit image and makes it into this new HDMI format and increases the resolution. It doesn't do that. It wasn't designed to do that.
Yeah, I think older gamers tend to forget how in real life with your own eyes how a Neo Geo one slot cabinet looked. Back then. It looked good, but I mean, compare it to a television of today, it looks like crap.
True.
Like those monitors were not that good.
Yeah, let me tell you a secret too, guys. Hey, hook your AES up to an old school TV. I mean, it's not going to look that great, dude.
No.
It's not. It's going to look bad. That's why if you have an AES, the first thing you do is get yourself upgraded. It is buy yourself either a device that allows it to hook up to S video, and that's going to give you a superior image.
Yes.
Back in the day, man, we didn't have these fancy TVs. You just hooked it up to the you used the yellow and the white plug, and that's the way you played it. I never played my AES in any.
Or RF, actually, Jared. Most of my systems, up until a certain point, where I was using RF because some of the TVs didn't support at the time composites.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, go ahead, Sal.
Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jose.
Okay. No, I was just saying that to to the audience and to Jared, me and Sal were actually just talking about the video quality of our AESs. I mean, that's the main reason. When I first got it, and I first got my AES, I was it was unmodded, and I hooked it up to my TV, and I was like, man, is something wrong with my fucking TV? Like, why does this look so muddy and dark? I mean, and I'm not a graphics. I am not a graphics whore by any means. You know what I mean? But I was just like, I can't fucking play it. It looks so dark and just out of focus, man. And Sal had the same experience.
Blurry as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, when I hooked it up to, like I was telling you, like I had a 27 in Mitsubishi. I used to hook that motherfucker up, like especially on certain stages, like when I used to play Fatal Fury Special, especially on Chang's stage. Like you see that the ground has like there's actual like detail and stuff. It's like it's the separation of the tiles on the ground. You know what? It was funny. It wasn't until I actually got my modded AES that when I hooked it up to this video, I could actually make out what the fuck was on the ground, what was on the panel. I didn't know what that. I thought that was just fucking blur, and I realized it was fucking flowers, and there was actual detail on the ground. I just thought it was just a blurry mess. It just looked like dog shit. And the thing is that when I hooked it up, I'm like, holy crap, this makes a huge difference, and all. But that's how bad it was on these CRTs. That's what, like I said, like when I was talking to Jose before this session, I said to him, unless you had like a Sony Trinitron or one of those, mega ultra expensive TVs, man. A regular CRT, which most homes had, it did not look as good as you think, and that's why people are like, "Oh, it doesn't look that good," because it didn't look that good 20 years ago. So why are you bitching now that it's not looking that good now? It is what it is, because a monitor in the arcade is using RGB. And it's a total different upscaler, a total different thing. It has scan lines and all this other stuff that most people are now on YouTube. If you look at them, it's a scan line porn thing nowadays. And it's, people have to realize, like, you're used to HDMI and you're used to all these fancy, clear things and all. And, people gotta, understand what was the time frames, what was going on and all. But I think people are spoiled by the images that we have nowadays, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's funny. That's why I didn't give the X a lot of grief, because people were like, oh, this doesn't look as good as, my AES and S video. Well, hell, the AES was never made for S video. That was something, that's a modification, So, basically, if you're going to compare the two, you would want to compare the two in composite video. And believe me, if I hook my AES to my HD TV, dude, it's not going to look good at all. I mean, it's going to look crappy.
Yeah.
So, it's going to look terrible, just like Sal was saying. It's going to look all muddy, and it's going to look crappy. So what I had to do, I had to invest in a little device. I didn't modify my Neo Geo, but I bought a little device that allows me to hook it up to S video, and then it's just, the quality's just there. Then it looks awesome. But other than that, that's the way the video works, and it's kind of like the compromise.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, just to give you guys a quick example, before I got my AES modded, I had what is it called? The Magician game.
Magician Lord.
Magician Lord. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you guys have that on the SNK Neo Geo collection, if you guys have that, the audience that's listening right now, go and hook up both of your systems. If you have an AES or MVS, and use straight composite cable on the first level. Right before you get to the little monster that's shooting shit from his mouth, it kind of looks like a giant slug. There's like two. Yeah, there's like two Buddha statues on top of the level, holding. It looks like green balls, and it looks like a red mess behind it. That shit looks like fucking spaghetti, and it looks so blurry you can't make out what it is. But when you turn that shit on, like if you play it on MAME or on a high definition or a modded system, you'll see exactly what that is. It looks like it doesn't look like a fucking mess of spaghetti bleeding all the way through. It looks like just a design behind the Buddha statue. Before I got my system modded, I didn't know what the fuck that was, and I was like, oh shit! It was like a whole new world opened up.
Oh yeah, you know what? Hey Sal, hey guys. Man, that was, I had to replay all my games all over again once I got S video.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, because all those little things, just like you're saying, it's like, wow, I didn't know this and that. I didn't notice there was this little guy standing on this little brick, this little house in the background, or all those character sprites, those little tiny pixels just came alive, and you could just see all the details. Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's like my AES that I still have the original isn't modded. I just kept the original, but I bought one off of Amazon when they were selling the S video modded ones, and when I hooked it up, like Jared was saying, like when I looked at Fatal Fury Special, for some reason I put that game, and I just looked, and I was just, oh my god, I can't believe what I was missing, for that time. And I'm like, there was so much detail. And like he said, I was putting in different games to look at where, and it was so remarkable. And you know what the thing is too? What I learned is you can actually appreciate them more and see the details that the hand-drawn sprites, the design, the effort, and the work that was put into these games. You could actually appreciate them more and see like how they would look kind of similar on a computer, not 100% because it's only as a video. But the thing is that you could actually appreciate the game more by seeing these details, by seeing a mess of blurry bullshit and just fuck garbage, you can't appreciate when you paid a lot of money for the game. But when you have that upgrade or upscale to a clearer picture, you can. It's almost like playing a new game.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that people, are down on the X about now the screen tearing. That's something that Tomo and SNK needs to work out. I mean, that's very true. But I think people also with the whole HDMI and composite thing, I think people are just having like these fucking nostalgic goggles on, and they're not really remembering how it was back then.
Right.
Believe me, playing. I don't. I mean, I'm sure you guys played it, but you go and play fucking Sega. Sonic. Excuse me. Go and play Sonic 1 on the Genesis. That game looks like shit. It looks like shit. It's a blurry fucking mess.
I played that shit in black and white.
I mean, see, that shit looks. I mean, it looks like a fucking mess. Now, if you play that game on a modded system, you're like, oh shit. I mean, you'll see so much more in the game.
Oh, that's one thing. Yeah, it's like I have my Sega Genesis in the corner on a TV, but if I played that on my emulator, I mean, the differences. I mean, the clarity is awesome. It's just, those games, even those old 16-bit games, you can see a lot more detail than you would have been able to on an old, an old CRT with composite video. That's just the way that thing worked out. And it's seeing like Sonic now on a whole TV. It does look like
it looks like garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it does look like
it does. Yeah, it does. Now, I guess we'll kind of switch gears. Is there any little final comments you guys want to say about the X? If you guys want to recommend it to people, or just like how you really feel. No bullshitting.
Well, I mean, I'm just because I know Jared, but my whole thing towards it is like, look, I know a lot of people are on the bandwagon. That's what it seems right now. Like YouTube is kind of like on that split side. The thing is people have to decide things for themselves. Don't jump on the bandwagon or the hype. Because a lot of the X, why people are, it's this and that, and people are being swayed by either their favorite YouTuber or a particular company that has, numerous subs, whatever, or just somebody who just wants to hate because they just got nothing the fuck better to do than just be assholes. The thing is judge this thing for yourself. Don't buy it, because you know what? That's what I'm starting to see. A lot of the people who were honest about it are the ones who are actually buying it, playing it, giving it for what it really is chance, rather than being swayed by popular opinion or just because a certain higher YouTuber says it's whatever. Because you know what? A lot of times people are swayed. Just like, the next thing you'll know, people are going to be like, well, they're going to say Earth is, flat now. Then motherfuckers are going to believe that shit. You got to think for yourself and check it out for yourself. I mean, if you decide that you played it, you don't like it, okay, fine. But by the same token, try it for yourself. Don't always listen to that, because a lot of times when you listen to people, the game isn't, or the system isn't as good as what it is, because that's their opinion. And another thing too, a lot of these people were saying this stuff, who are trying to get all these views and stuff. It, comes down to their AdSense account. So controversy sometimes after their interest.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Just think, do your own thinking. And, the way my final thing on it is that, if you liked SNK, this is a affordable alternative to the SNK Neo Geo from back in the day. You can buy it, have it, enjoy it, just have fun playing it. And, I was able to play Last Blade. I got into it. I would play that game for like 2.5 hours because I don't have that on the cartridge. And that allowed me to play that, and legitimately, and I had fun. I enjoyed it, so I can't say enough good things about it. I like it, so yeah, do your own thinking and judge for yourself.
All right, and just my little final thoughts on it. People, I plan on grabbing one, and I have great ports, and I have the official system. And for a lot of the games that I'm going to be getting on the X, I'll still buy the original copies just because I'm a collector. But just for people who want to try out some Neo Geo games actually play on some official hardware because this is licensed by SNK, so it is official hardware. Pick it up. The handheld's coming out, I believe, this month, at the end of the month, or you can just try and search down the whole premium limited edition model. I mean, it's only $200 for that model, and I believe the handheld is about $129, and I believe it still comes preloaded with 20 games, so it's a pretty good deal. And I mean, that's about it. Me personally, I think it's a great buy, great value. Tomo's supporting it still, and that's a great sign for me.
Cool.
Yeah. So, we're gonna.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, Sal.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I'm going to be the first one to admit, though, is sorry about this final boy.
No, go ahead, man.
It seems that the final edition, the special edition. The thing is that I'm actually shocked, and I'm going to be the first one to admit that I'm shocked that Tomo actually came through with the games and the type of games they did, because that to me, right there, is showing. I mean, and they've been getting a lot of hate now. There's been a lot of hate, and the fact that they actually did produce something, actually spend the time. Okay, Jared's got the mega pack, so his is like huge bargain, that type of thing. But the thing is, that even though Tomo is receiving all this hate, trying, and I got to give him an A+ for effort on that, because the thing is that a lot of times companies will say, okay, if you don't like it, or it's not this, it's not that, they'll try to ditch it. At least Tomo, I have to give them, at least they're trying. I mean, they might not be, answering the emails or doing whatever. I understand people are frustrated, but the thing is, you got to give them a chance. They're just really trying to. It seems that they're really trying to make this thing work, and you got to give it a chance. It's only been out a few months, and the fact that they came out with the games that they actually did, they weren't actually skinching on games, especially Bar, Last Break, Kazuna Counter, or there was Jet, etc. The thing is that they were trying to show you, we're going to give you some really good stuff, and the fact of the matter is, you didn't have to buy, the mega pack. You could have bought, the 5 individual, whatever it is, and bought like maybe just your own favorite 3 or whatever, 2 that you like. So they were giving you so many options and trying to appease a massive amount of people, showing that we're not just trying to stick you. I mean, so people have to recognize that they're giving you these options, or trying to make people happy. And that's something people have to really try to come away with. A lot of times when systems aren't doing it, a lot of times they just drop it completely, and you wind up with just basically a fucking doorstop. So the thing is that, people have to understand that, and I think it's not getting through to a lot of people about that.
Okay, good, man. That was actually a good way to wrap that section up. So basically, our next portion of our podcast is basically we're gonna stick on the whole Neo Geo handheld discussions. Now we're gonna talk about the Neo Geo Pocket. Now, this was a system that was released in America and Japan and a whole bunch of other territories. But in America, it kind of came out at an awkward time where the Game Boy Advance was launching, and just the Game Boy Advance just annihilated it. Back when I never knew anyone besides a close personal friend of mine who actually had a Pocket Color, and everyone else had Game Boy Advance at the time. Now, the Game Boy, I'm assuming the Pocket was a pretty notorious for having really good actual ports of bigger AES games and MVS games, like such things as Last Blade, King of Fighters, and Metal Slug. So I know each of us in this, during this conversation, each of us has owned one. So I figured, you guys just go ahead and share some of your thoughts on it, and what was it about the system that made you want to buy it. So we'll start off with Jared.
Yeah, wow, I feel like an old man now. Go back to 1999, or about that time. I think it was 1999, 2000. Let me see. I got the box right here. This thing was released in 1999. So that was about the time the Dreamcast was out. And I remember reading in the magazines that SNK was releasing this handheld, and in Japan, the very first one was actually in black and white. So it was a black and white system like the old Game Boy. I was like, why would they want to? I didn't understand why they were doing that. But when this was released in America, in the U.S., it was called the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and so now it was a color screen, and it was 16-bit graphics. And I remember actually there was a fair amount of marketing for this device. It was actually I remember watching MTV, and I saw a Neo Geo Pocket Color commercial, if you guys could believe that. And so I was like, wow, they're really actually trying to advertise it. It was in the magazines. And so I remember when it was released, I went down to a Target, mainstream store. I didn't go to some Japanese, out-of-the-way, game shop. I just went down to Target, and they had the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and I took it home. And there was just like a connection with it. It was just like the controller just felt right. It felt like a Neo Geo CD controller, and the first game I bought. In fact, guys, the only game I ever bought for the system was SNK Capcom Match of the Millennium, and I just fell in love with it. I thought that was the best handheld fighting game I ever played. And one of the things you got to understand is it did have ports of Neo Geo games, but everything was cute. It was like cute designs on all the characters, and there was just something about it. It was great. So I loved it. I enjoyed it.
All right, Sal.
The one thing I have to admit, like they did advertise it in the magazines. It was a big thing because like I was a big reader of Electronic Game Monthly, Game Fan, Die Hard Game Fan, Game Pro. Sorry, and the other one. The thing is I was excited as shit because the reason why I was excited for it is because it was having I wouldn't say a huge mass market for it, but the magazines they did have the ads for it. They I never saw any commercials that I'm aware of. The thing is they did put forth, and there was kind of like a lot of hype around. And what made me really excited was to actually have an SNK product back in the stores.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I bought mine from Electric Boutique, which was, I guess there was like electric, because in my mall here in Philly, you had like an electronics boutique and games and gadgets. They were the same damn thing. They were just one opposite ends of the mall. And the thing is, it was nice to actually walk into that store, a game store, that was just for everything that was in at the time, and be able to pick it up off the shelf. I picked up the black one, it's called Anthracite or whatever the hell it is, and picked that up at the time and be able to buy that and a game. And I think I bought either I think it was a King of Fighters game or some shit, one of them, and buy that and be able to sit there and go, and like when I was going to college, I wasn't driving, I was taking the bus, and be able to sit on the bus and play that shit, and them batteries, fuck man, them batteries last long, like the Energizer Bunny wasn't fucking kidding. These things kept on going on and on in the system, and it was just a pleasure to actually play something that was released by the company, because the only thing that was last released commercially in stores was the actual AES itself. So to me, it was a fantastic system, and in some ways, once again, ahead of its time. But unfortunately, wasn't the right time for it.
Yeah, it was coming up against that Game Boy Advance, I believe, and tough system to beat. But yeah, but you know what? Actually, me and Sal was talking about this. I believe that the Neo Geo Pocket was the first non-Sega system to get a Sonic game on it.
I believe you're right. Yeah, that was a big marketing point for that system.
Yeah,
because you could play Sonic, and that was a dream. That was talking about the dream match, Sega and SNK together. I was all about that, So they had Sonic was released an official game on the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and that got a lot of people excited about it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I believe they also had a Pac-Man game also.
Yes.
Yeah. So SNK was actually getting some really good support from other Japanese developers, which is what they needed. And once again, the fighting games for, just like how Jared said, they were cutesy, but I mean these were not gimpy fighting games. I mean these fighting games were so well done And the thing about it was there was only two buttons on the controller. I mean, on
Yep.
the item itself, and
Yes.
somehow, SNK, just pulled that shit off. They just pulled it off.
Absolutely. The thing is that, and they use the like what I call like that sensitive touch type of thing. Like if you press like it lightly, you can hit a light punch. And if you press it down hard, from a hard punch, kind of like a World Heroes type of schematic. And using the cutesy, super deformed, like it's called chibi characters. The thing is that it really played well with the system because nobody would ever picture, because most fighting games for portable systems, they were horrible. I mean, I can't picture, I don't know, maybe one of you guys correct me. I don't think I've ever played a fighting game for a portable system that just did not suck. It was just terrible. It would not translate well.
Me personally, I think the only one that comes to mind is Street Fighter Alpha 3 on the Game Boy Advance. That's the only one that I liked up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But up until I would say maybe that point or whatever, for the most part, you were getting, the like okay, don't get me wrong, but the animations of the characters, the fluidity of just the gameplay, and the fact of the matter is that, and it's not even just so much the games were excellent, but the system itself actually had its own kind of what do you call it, that charm, because it had I think it had a calendar, it had a horoscope in it. It had a couple other cutesy, I think, alarm, some other cutesy shit with the system that, added more to the system, even though probably the biggest complaint is the backlit feature, that it didn't have that. The thing is that it had, what it had going for it, brought a lot of their most popular franchises, super deformed them, and made them actually really incredible games. Like, one thing Jared said was the SNK versus Capcom, is an outstanding game. These games are still being played, okay, a lot of them via emulator, but they're still being played today because people just didn't know about them, especially a lot of the younger generations, didn't know about them. And the thing is that starting to appreciate how really advanced the system really was at the time. And like you said, Sonic. I've never personally played the Sonic, but from my understanding, it's probably one of the best Sonic games out there.
It's
and that's
far,
saying a lot.
yeah, it's far better than any of the ones on the Game Gear. Even to this day, I mean, only the 3DS ones and the DS ones are better, but up until then, that was the best portable Sonic game I've ever played. Yeah, so I mean, personally, I think the Pocket Color was a really good idea. It just came out at the wrong time.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like the way I feel about the Neo Geo X today. It's kind of like, it's. I hope this one gets a chance. This handheld gets a chance because the Neo Geo Pocket Color didn't. So that's why I'm kind of rooting for the Neo Geo X, is because I remember the old Neo Geo Pocket and just thought how great it was, and just wanted to give it a little bit of love. Hopefully it gets a little bit of support, especially for the fans, of SNK. So.
Absolutely, and the thing is that it's a shame because a lot of times it seems that SNK always seems to fall as the underdog, even though a lot of times what they're bringing to the table is far superior in their competition. And the only reason why the Pocket fell hard is because even though the Game Boy was far less superior, the thing is that the whole Pokemon craze is what really kicked the shit out of the Pocket Color, because everybody was so enthralled with the whole Pokemon bullshit that the thing is that it was Pokemon on fucking whatever system it was, they were going to buy it. So the thing is the Pocket Color, and the problem is because since I was an exclusive under the Nintendo license, no other companies could actually grab hold of that license in order to, let's say, maybe make a rebound. And that's where Nintendo kind of dominated. The system itself isn't that great. The point is, it had good games on it, but as far as hardware back and all that, it was far below. It was subpar compared to the Pocket Color. But the problem is these licensings and the timing that they have that's the problem with SK is just their timing is just off on things. It's like, they're running races and, it's the next fucking day when it's supposed to be yesterday. They're just so fucking, they just can't get the timing right. And it comes down to is that you have to know your market, kind of plan it out, and that's where they kind of fold. They're always superior in their hardware and in the software, but it's just, man, they just can never get on time or on a schedule or something. And I don't know if it's because their head's in the clouds or their heads are up their ass. The thing is that that's the problem with the system. And now the system is actually a hell of a collector's item. And I think I've even seen a video, even though I'm not subscribing, Metal Jesus Rocks even had a latest video regarding Pocket Color and how to collect for it. Now, some of them games are at premium prices.
Yeah, I think, but you know what though? To kind of segue this into the X, a lot of those same people that that I have seen on YouTube dissing the X, they'll say really good things about the Pocket Color, especially about the joystick. Now, to me, that's the same joystick on the X, but when it's on the X, it's too loud. Or I mean, it's too clicky.
Yeah.
I remember doing. I mean, now, I remember doing that in the middle of the night, and my mom coming into my room and saying, "Hey, put that shit down. It's too loud." It's the same deal. It's just as loud, as the Pocket Color. But I just think people like to just nitpick the new shit, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? It's like, as we could become like adults, you know how adults are just real critical. It's like, it's like, dude, it's like relax a little bit, just have a little bit of fun, But a lot of times people like to get on their kind of their soapbox and just like to just down stuff, and just like, that's what it is. It's like, just like you're saying, it's like, okay, there's always something to nitpick. It's like, oh, they gave you this great thing. Look, it's for you. Play it. Enjoy it. They're like, I don't like this. I don't like that. This sucks. Blah, blah. And then you're like, you just reduced it down, to now it's like you don't want to have nothing to do with it. So, yeah, it's just people.
You know what I think it really comes down to? It's just the way humanity is anyway. That the point is that people are not satisfied. You can't please everybody because technically that joystick comes from the Neo CD controller. Yeah. And even to this day, that controller, if you saw my last video, even with the Peanut controller that they redesigned as a new packaging for the system, the AS much later, that controller sucks. It's awful. But the CD controller, what it was so revolutionary using the micro switches and being able to play on a pad and having a similar experience and not being able to get the fucking numb thumb and shit that was so well established with all the other systems and shit. You play a long time and your thumb's going to fatigue or you're going to get blisters or whatever the hell shit happens. You're going to get a fucking carpal tunnel. The thing is, the CD controller made it so that, so revolutionary that it moved on to the Pocket Color, and it actually was redesigned for, the PS2 and maybe a couple other systems, if I'm not mistaken, because because the controller was so well received. I don't know where people are from. Like, I agree, the clickiness and all that other bullshit, but you can't play it. That's just the way human nature is. You can't please everybody. People are going to dog something just because they just want it, because they're simple fucks and they jump off a bridge or something. And the thing is they you just have to go along with it. But I agree. I mean, you can't please everybody, but that controller was revolutionary to make sure you were never exhausted or overuse and all that. And to me, they should be commended for that, not being innovators rather than just it's clicky and shit. I mean, fuck, man. I mean, you want everything in life, but the clickiness was purposely put there as a way of saying, hey, this controller works.
Yeah.
Or this D-pad works.
Yeah. It basically, what it does, especially for someone like me who plays a lot of fighting games, also the clickiness indicates when you're over left or right. So you don't have to go exactly over all the way. Your command, as soon as you hear the click, and it's about almost halfway to the left or halfway to the right or up or down, that indicates that command is already in. So it's actually a really good tool for fighting game fans.
Wow, great. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's, if you could do a Dragon Punch motion and get those things off consistently on a little controller like that, that's a damn good controller.
Yes, it is. That's the best controller, portable-wise, for fighting games. It's way better than the 3DS slide pad today. I'll take that over that any day. And
Yep.
in any D-pad that's ever come out on a portable system cannot touch that that clicky pad on the Neo Geo X or Neo Geo Pocket.
Gotta agree.
I agree 100%. It's revolutionary technology, and when you think about it, just like this little plastic floating on this, like little on these switches, and how, like you said, you can be able to determine and be able to actually have maybe a bit less travel in your thumb in order to accomplish a fireball or a dragon punch type of motion or a hurricane type kick motion, and that was the purpose of it. Is this thing, and like you said, the clicking were cues for these particular moves or what you're doing and all that, and that was the purpose of it because these are revolutionary controller, and that's what they wanted to do. And but what are you going to do? So people can't appreciate for what it really is.
Yeah, there's a couple of videos where people were saying that they don't want to be in public, and they're like disturbing people around them. Well, hey, when you're in public playing any video game system, a Vita, a 3DS, people are going to look at you, especially if you're an adult. They're going to look at you like, hey, why the fuck is he playing this little kid's game? Hey, okay. So at that point, who really cares if you're doing that clicky noise around them? I mean, who gives a fuck? You're playing your game for your enjoyment, not for anyone else's.
Absolutely.
What I do with the X. I mean, when I'm on my lunch breaks, man, I bust that thing out. I'm in the lunchroom. Hell yeah, I'm playing some Mark of the Wolves. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? Who cares if it's
What the
loud?
problem is the whole thing is that it's just the stigma because they expect little kids to be playing the fucking thing. Even though most likely if you're playing it, you're going to usually have the headphone jack and that type of thing in order to keep the noise level down. But I think that's just a social stigma, and they don't realize that the majority of gamers are actually grown-ass men, for the most part, and maybe some grown-ass women, too. I don't want to leave them out, too. The thing is that, it's not little kids that are actually, the ones who are making the gaming industry profitable. It's the adults who actually grow up, especially as the preteens, teens, and adults in the 90s are actually the ones who are actually moving the industry.
Yeah.
Actually, the average gamer, the average age of a gamer is 30.
Yeah.
I remember they took 30,
35,
yeah, isn't that amazing? Like, wow, that's the demographic for games.
But you know what? In Japan, it's quite normal to see businessmen, CEO, lawyers write and train with a 3DS in their hand. That's normal to them. Over here, it's the complete opposite. Someone sees you with a game, you get a fucking weird look. It's like what? I mean, I'm not killing anybody. I'm the same mature person just like you are. I'm just playing a game. But hold on, but you don't give them angry stares when they're playing fucking Angry Birds though. You see what I'm saying?
Candy Crush is the big motherfucker right now. And Farm fucking Bill and all that dumb shit they're fucking playing these guys in. But I agree 100%. But see, the Japanese are more I guess it's a more sophisticated because they're actually gaming is part of their life because they're such a traveling country. Everything you're doing is either walking or taking public transportation because owning a car, especially when it's pretty expensive and pollution and shit that they're trying to very a progressive society. Here things are looked at as fads, but you got people. I mean, they expect you at your age as a hobby. I mean, what do you expect you to be playing or doing as a hobby? I mean, collecting fucking guns or whatever. In other words, is that it's what you call it. I agree. Like people would look at you like if I tell somebody I'm just like you're almost ashamed to tell people you game. Like I mean it's like it's some type of fucking stigma. Like you're supposed to be sitting in a dark corner in the fetal position, fucking playing the game, growing a fucking beard, like Jesus and shit, and walking around like fucking moccasins and shit, like you're some hippie or something. I mean, the thing is that like you ain't got you're completely fucking pale and all. I notice you don't have that. People don't realize that people do it as a way of it's some people it's a way of relieving stress. It's either I play my game or I punch people in the face.
Exactly.
I mean, to me, punching people in the face is better, but it's not socially acceptable. It's illegal. So you're going to go to a game to do racing. rather than doing something like going in a bar or doing something that you have another vice where it can actually get you in trouble for. But people just don't seem to have it because things here are fads and they're just not socially acceptable, especially people who collect figures and things that comic books and things of that nature. They're really looked down upon. Yeah. So it's a sad society we live in.
Yeah, that's totally sad. That's what's so funny. It's like when I'm at work, I'm by the water cooler. People were talking about golf. Freaking, I took my boat out. Blah blah blah. What'd you do? And I'm like, I just stayed at home, man. Because I'm not gonna say, I'm like, I feel that way. I'm like, man, you know what I was doing? Man, I was getting my game on. I was playing some Fatal Fury special. I was playing some, because that's what I like doing. I mean, that's like my thing. Hey, like Sunday afternoons, I was like, yes, I get my game on. I love it. And all my closest friends, my closest relatives, we're all gamers. But when you're out in society and stuff, it's like you can't really. It's kind of like you feel kind of weird. It's like my real passion is games, 20-year-old old ass games, and it's like it's kind of hard to share that. But you just gotta have to get over that. You're a grown person. Who cares what people think? You just gotta work through that. So this is a great topic in itself.
Yeah, you know what though? No, it's okay. I was gonna just say one quick thing about that. Because Jared brought up, thing when people were talking about golf and stuff like that. Okay, now there was this guy recently that I was talking to. We were just talking about just casual stuff, and then somehow in the conversation, I told him that I play and collect video games. Like I'm really into them. I've been that way since a kid, and he was like, oh man, you play games? That shit is, is whack. Is why you doing that? You're wasting your time. But the same guy in the same fucking voice, the same sentence, he says that he does fantasy football. Like, what the fuck? Fantasy football? That's a fucking piece of paper and a pen. That's it. That's fucking it. You're over here thinking about fucking real guys in real life. Oh, I'll fucking bust a nut if I can get this fucking player on my team. What? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah, that would bore the shit out of me.
That shit is boring, dude.
And you know what the point is exactly like sitting there with a piece of paper. There's no real interaction. There's no. You have people just like anything, like you said, around those. Just talk about like people are like, oh, I watch this professional sports, or I watch this. And I'm cool with that. I tell people like I don't really watch professional sports. I'd rather play them.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel.
Why am I going to sit? Why am I going to sit there and watch some motherfucker on TV making trillions of dollars, making an ass out of himself every day out in public and shit, a crybaby who's half fucking illiterate, making millions of dollars on the fucking sport, when you have people who are actually doing like real jobs that should be fucking paid
police
better,
officers, firemen, stuff like that. EMTs.
Yeah, people who are actually out there, first responders, things like that need. But you got people out there in professional sports, and I have no problem that people play. That's over. But you got people who are acting like children and shit out there and making millions of dollars, and then they kind of see it's like, you know what? That's some old bullshit. And you're gonna sit there, oh, I'm gonna watch this, or I'm gonna buy this, or I'm gonna make some fantasy motherfucking football.
Exactly.
I'm like, why don't you just get off your lazy ass and actually play the game? No, probably because they'll have a heart attack.
Yeah, we're not trying to down anyone who does fantasy football. If that's what you're into, that's fine. But at the same token, you can't down what we're into.
Correct.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny because you talk. I'll play. I watch a little bit of football season, whatever. I do a little stuff. I've done a lot of things in life. There's a lot of stuff that I'm into, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I'm a gamer. And that's kind of like where I'm at. It's like, and I realized that even being as an adult now, and I have a good life. But when it comes down to it, I love games. That's where it's at for me. So that's why I like talking to you guys.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And what it seems, though, is that your circle of friends, as you get older, seem to, and everybody's taste changed. Like, a lot of people were gamers back in the day. Their tastes have changed, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the thing is that you notice, though, that your circle of friends might get smaller because of what your hobby is. But in all reality, you know, at the end of the day, it's something you enjoy. It's positive. As long as it's not affecting, you know, your social, your financial life, then, you know, it's harmless, like anything. You could have hobbies, like I said. You can be doing stuff that's, you know, it's way more crazier. And a lot of times, believe it or not, sometimes, let's say, you know, especially if you have family, you know, I'm telling you something. Comparatively, if a woman, as you say, okay, I'm going to go game over here, she might not be thrilled with it, but if you say I'm going to go to the bar, which one would you rather have? Her husband going out to the bar or the husband's games? At least she knows where his ass is at.
Exactly.
You know, so the point is that it's everything just comes down to, you know, everybody's opinion. It's not here to ride on anybody. But the thing is, like you said, it's not, you don't downplay us. We all have jobs. We live in society. Have some way, shape, or form, you know, emotions, etc. You just can't base it upon, you know, select few and judge everybody based upon it, because it's unfair. Because then it's our turn to judge you, and it's not fair. You just got to take everything as a whole and learn to respect people's hobbies. I mean, there's people stamp collect. Me, that would be boring as hell. But if it's fun for them, and coin collecting, it's fun for them, and that's what they enjoy, who am I to knock them for? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I remember people back in the day. I mean, grown ass men collecting Beanie Babies. I never said a fucking thing about it. If that's what you're into, fuck it. Let's go for it. I'm gonna help you. Let's go out and search for some fucking Beanie Babies. Cool. Don't fucking look at me strange when I fucking bring out my 3DS on the train or on the bus. You know what I mean? Just, you know, let it be chill, man. Let it be even. Let it be even. Or collect those fucking porcelain dolls, those porcelain babies. That's some creepy shit. To me, that's some creepy shit. But
that sounds like some old Michael Jackson shit.
Exactly.
Right there,
that sounds like some pedophile shit. But, you know, to each his own. But,
yeah, that sounds like Never Neverland up in there.
You know what I mean? But you know what, guys? We kind of got off a subject.
Okay.
But Jared, there was one feature that you had brought up about the Pocket Color. Was the connectivity of that and the Dreamcast. Can you just try and you know, let's try and get back on track and tell some people, you know, about that feature that was pretty big.
Oh yeah, that's the link cable. I don't have one, but my brother, he actually bought a Neo Geo Pocket, and he still has it in the closet somewhere. I'm going to ask him about that after the podcast. But what it allowed you to do, as you know, they made Capcom made two games, or actually Capcom and SNK collaborated on a fighting game called, of course, you guys know, SNK versus Capcom. And that was the very first game, and that actually originated as a Naomi game in the arcade. So it was an arcade game first, and it got ported to the Dreamcast, and I was waiting in line for that. I couldn't believe how awesome that was going to be to actually have that. That was a big deal. That was a huge crossover. And they also had it, I guess they had a deal, SNK and Capcom had a deal, where, you know, SNK would make a version, which was this version, which was the Match of the Millennium. This was actually made by SNK, and then Capcom was going to make the home version, I believe. So basically what you could do, and in the Match of the Millennium, it actually had mini-games, and the more you played these mini-games, you accumulated points. And so you'd accumulate these points, and then you would take the cable and transfer the data from that game to the Dreamcast version. So you would download all these points, and it would take a while. But once that data was transferred, then you could go into, you know how I think it has like an option screen, and then you could just start buying and purchasing characters, character colors, backgrounds, and so forth. So it created this connectivity between the two games. So it was awesome. It was incredible, and just being able to play those two games in conjunction with each other was great, and I was having a great time. Same also with the King of Fighters, the Dream Match. You guys ever played that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
for the Pocket Color or for the Dreamcast?
For the Dreamcast. Which
no, I never played. I only have the ports for the PS2 and stuff, so I never played them actually on the Dreamcast.
Okay, but I think Sal, you know that game is actually the King of Fighters '98. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically an enhanced version. But same thing with I believe with King of Fighters R2 on the Neo Geo Pocket Color, it actually had the same functionality with the Dreamcast version where you can transfer data. So that was completely incredible. It was like hog heaven, being able to play both the handheld when I'm on the go, and then go into my home system and being able to use that feature. So another one of those great things I loved about it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean that might have been, I think, the first kind of portable to main console connectivity that I could think of. I mean, the only other one I could think of at that time was the Game Boy Advance and the GameCube, but I believe that came out in around 2002, 2003. So
Yeah,
SNK might have been the first with that.
I don't know. Maybe someone else out there could do some research on that. But yeah, that'd be very interesting. But yeah, even the packaging even said that the games were compatible with the Dreamcast, another great hardware. But yeah, it was really cool to get into that, and so that way you kind of it brings this experience together of handheld gaming and also home console gaming. So it was great.
Plus, another thing what's good about it shows that um, that companies working together for a common good as far as trying to give the fans like Capcom and SNK working with Sega. It's that partnership and stuff that people really like, and it's something that you have to applaud SNK on. That even though they got Black Capcom, with the whole game at beat thing. The thing is that they were still positive towards everything, and willing to work with different companies and things like that in order to promote not only their hardware but the hardware of that competitor. And to me is really it's very mature and very professional in that manner.
Yeah, actually, thinking about that, Sal, you bring up a really good point with that. Now you can kind of see that that Nintendo is kind of doing that right now with their Wii U and their 3DS. They're working a lot more. They're depending on the Japanese influence and those companies like Namco, Capcom, Sega to build up their install bases on their systems, where the West kind of was kind of more sectioned off from them. So they're actually working together, and because of that, we're actually getting a lot of really cool content like Project X Zone on the 3DS, which is a RPG from Namco, but it features Capcom and Sega characters in it. So something like that, I mean, is really good.
Yeah, I see that as the future.
Yeah.
I see that as the future,
Yep.
Jose, of that type of collaboration, because the game market, it's basically the wagons are drawing, and people are trying to fortify themselves in this big race, this new console race, this high stakes game of creating video games. I mean, it's really a big business. So I think the big guns are starting to kind of meld together. Like I started noticing things like when with Bandai Namco, it's like these two companies kind of get together. It's like, what, we got to join up. We got to group up together, because just being out here by ourselves is not good enough. So I think you're going to see a lot more collaboration, and I think it's great. And I think the Wii U is going to benefit from that.
Now, Sal, do you think because I remember me and you were talking, and you were saying that SNK is not really doing anything right now. Do you think it would be beneficial if another Japanese company, like let's say a Capcom or a Nintendo or Namco or something like that, was to kind of like absorb them more or less, and like be basically kind of like a Namco and Bandai type of thing, where SNK type Sega? Do you think us as gamers will benefit from that?
I can't see the only way I can see we can actually not benefit is unless the management of that company that absorbs it is screwed up, because that's the only way. But you can only benefit from having kind of like a brain trust, or two heads are better than one type of thing, because it's more collaboration, or having two companies come together. usually a lot of times you have more ideas, more help, more money. And the thing is that a lot of times you're able to actually probably do projects and do things that you not necessarily normally would do because it could be a financial risk. Whereas by having another company who has that money or that backing, a lot of times you can actually take risk in your games and all that. Because nowadays the problem with gaming is that everything is A+ titles. And the people and the indie stuff, is kind of, underground and all, even though the indie stuff is technically doing better because people have more of their heart and soul into games, such as like Meat Boy and all that other type of games that were indie. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of times it can give that company, the boost it might need or that direction it might need in order to improve upon to continue to produce a quality product.
Okay. Sounds pretty good. So basically, I guess this podcast is going pretty long. I'll just get the final thoughts about the Neo Geo Pocket from you guys, and I guess we'll just wrap up this one. I mean, this one is pretty long, and I think we had some really, I think we hit some really good points and some really good keys in this, and we had some fucking laughs, which is always great. Jared, would you recommend the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and what would you say to someone who's interested in buying one?
Well, the thing is, of course, if you can find it and it's affordable, but I don't know what the market is like on the Neo Geo Pocket as far as collecting right now. But if you could find one in the wild, I definitely recommend picking it up, especially if you're a fan of the Game Boy, but you just like a little bit of SNK mix. It's really comes highly recommended. That's pretty much all I'm gonna say. That's all I can say.
All right, Sal.
I've been watching Neo Geo Pocket Color, believe it or not, for quite some time, and it seems that Neo Geo Pocket Color has been holding quite a lot of value. They're not actually as cheap as a lot of people would think they are, and some of the more obscure games are actually becoming quite expensive and all. And the thing is that, but if you can get a hold of one, especially if it's boxed or whether it's incomplete, whatever it may be, it's a definite recommendation because it takes you back to a time, day, and age where the technology and the how fun games really used to be. Even though, they're simple in their look and things of that nature, it takes you back to a main point of gaming, is gameplay. And the thing is, that's something that the Pocket actually excelled at, is its gameplay. And the thing is that it's always going to be highly recommended. Now, it might be tough to track down a lot of their various games, but you give it time like anything, you might be able to find a good deal. But I don't think it's one of those. I think it's a rewarding purchase, and it's one of those things in history that should be recognized. It should be commended for what it was. Unfortunately, it true due until actually within the last few years, and it's definitely a recommendation that you really need to check one. If you can find the right deal and play these games, you're just going to have a lot of fun with it. The simplicity is what really sells the system, and just the overall, I would say, charm of it is really what that system is about.
Okay. Well, just my kind of final thoughts on it. It's definitely a system that I highly recommend. Once again, I owned one as a kid, and I'm actually probably going to end up picking one up, pretty soon. But some of the key games that for me were the Sonic game for it, also Last Blade. They had the King of Fighters. They had the SNK and Capcom Match of the Millennium, I believe it was. They also had the Samurai Showdown 2, which is a really good version of that game. And also, for me, actually, out of all those games, the three games that I really enjoyed the most on that system was Metal Slug Mission 1 and Mission 2, and probably I'll have to say even today, the best golf game ever on a portable was Neo Turf Master for the Pocket Color.
Mm-hmm.
That game is so good.
Wow.
So, yeah, just wanted to do some quick some quick channel boosting for these guys. I really appreciate these guys always joining me and always having these conversations with me. Please go check out SNK Neo Geo Man's channel for everything Neo Geo related. He does some really good pickup videos. He has a really nice collection. Really knows what he's talking about in his game reviews. And also we have SuperHighTechGamer. Just put it in the YouTube search bar and check it out. He has some really good stuff, really good stories that he has to tell, really good collection videos that he have, and he's actually starting this new series, which was where he's basically putting guys onto music in video games. I mean, there were some tracks that I never heard before that were really good that I actually missed out on. So, so is there any closing comments that you guys would like to say for the audience?
The only thing I want to say is just I hope everyone enjoys listening to the podcast, and just it's just one of the greatest, most fun things is just being able to just talk about our passion. That's why we call it Gamers Passion, and I hope everyone else enjoys it. And yeah, that's it for me.
I'd like to say final thing. I enjoy being on this podcast because it gives everybody an opportunity to speak. Nobody's jumping in on each other. Everybody is having a good time. Nobody feels pressure. And I really, really have to thank, it's kind of like the moderators, really is Jose, because Jose asks some really excellent questions, and he really gets you thinking about the particular topics, and I really enjoy being on these podcasts, and it's a little different. It's doing something different that opposed to what I'm doing on my channel, or what Jared's doing on his channel. So it's something I truly enjoy, and I got to commend Jose for handling business with his podcasts.
Definitely, big props to Jose, man, and his wife, because I think without her technical assistance,
we'll be fucked. We'll be done. This shit would never have happened. It'd have been a fucking complete mess. There'll be feedback every 5 minutes. There'll be a fucking wreck. So props to my wife. Thank you. But guys, the audience, if you guys have any type of questions or any type of topics you want us to talk about, I mean, this is real talk we're talking about. We're not being paid by anyone or anything like that. We're not doing this for I'm not doing this for subs. I just like to talk about stuff. And why not talk about one of the things that I love in life, which is gaming. I know these two are really passionate about what they what they game, and just gaming in general. So if you guys have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, just leave them in the comment bar. I am PM one of us, or anything like that. If you guys actually want to be on the show, because all three of us started off as just viewers on YouTube. And, it's kind of hard, getting that first video out on your channel. But, you can do it.
Definitely. Great. Great advice. Great.
Yeah. So, that's it for the podcast. Another Gamer's Passion down. And I guess we'll see you guys back in 2 weeks.
All right. Good to me. Hey, peace, everybody. Peace. Enjoy the games.
All right, don't be a sheep. Don't listen to all these big guys. Follow your own mind. If you like something, or if you're even interested in something, pick that shit up. The X is a good product for what it is.
Great. Peace out, everybody.
Take care, YouTube.